Hello, friends, and welcome to Coached by Tara, a podcast where Tara...
Hi, that's me.
...coaches me, hi, I'm Mike, on different book series or movies or, I don't know, we've only done Twilight so far, okay? Don't ask... I don't like labeling things. I don't like labels.
No
but anyway,
labels.
We are doing Twilight, the first Twilight book by Stephanie Meyer.
Yes, we are.
This episode, we are doing Chapter 9.
Chapter 9.
Chapter 9. But before we get to that, I have to recap Chapter 8 for everybody from last week. So, Chapter 8, titled Port Angeles.
Port Angeles.
So, Kristen Stewart gets in the car with Anna
Bella.
Kendrick and whoever plays Angela.
I don't know her name.
And they go off to Port Angeles to go dress shopping.
Mm-hmm.
And while they're dress shopping, they mention that Tyler Crowley has been telling everybody that him and Bella are going to prom together. And she's like,
the fuck?
She's like, I'm going to run him over in my car, dude.
I'm literally going to run him over.
I'm literally going to run him over. But anyway.
It's over for y'all, bitches.
She asks about the colons to Angela, and Angela kind of just gives her an answer without, like, questioning her. So she's like, I love Angela. She doesn't judge me. Then they split up because Bella wants to go to a bookstore, but she ends up not wanting to go to that bookstore because it's kind of like a hippie bookstore and not like a Beauty and the Beast bookstore. So she tries to go look around for a bookstore and gets lost in like a fucking warehouse district. And these dudes start following her. And it's implied that they're going to do bad stuff to her. And so right when they reach her, the silver Volvo pulls up. Skirt. Door opens and get in if you want to live.
Well, he doesn't exactly say that.
Get in if you want to survive.
Okay.
Get in the Batmobile. And so Bella gets in and it's Edward and they speed away and Edward's like, I'm so mad. And she's like, why are you mad? I don't get it. And
Me confused, she says.
Me confused. So she says, I'm supposed to meet Jessica and Angela for dinner. So can we go back? So they go back. And he invites himself to dinner, but they already ate.
They truly did because...
Wow. What a yawn. Fascinating stuff from Tara there.
To me, I'm like, that was definitely Jessica's idea because Angela would be nice enough to be like,
we can wait.
And that she was probably like, no, she's too far gone. Like,
right.
We just gotta eat.
Anyway, so they ate, so they leave. So Edward goes, hey, I still want to take you to dinner, even though she's like, I'm not hungry. But then she gets food anyway. So they sit down in this restaurant and she starts to get some info out of Edward because he feels like he can't not tell her at this point.
True.
He's compromised. He has to tell her for her safety. So he mentions he found her by reading other people's minds, and first Jessica, and then he realized they were split up. And so he went looking for Bella, couldn't find her, and then he started reading the minds of people in the area, and he read the mind of one of the rapey guys, and he got mad. So he came and got her, and then he wanted to kill them. And the only thing stopping him from going back and killing them is that he was with her. And that's why he wanted to go to dinner with her.
Mm-hmm.
And so she's kind of like, whoa. And he's like, yeah. And then he pays with one of those gift cards that has like 6 restaurants on it and 2 of them you never heard of. And then they get in the car and pull away and he goes, all right, now your turn. And that's how the chapter ended.
Indeed.
Did I miss anything?
I don't think so, but any predictions for this next thing?
So
because it's basically like her turn, like his turn to ask questions.
I think he wants to know how he can't read her mind, and I don't think she's going to be able to answer that.
That's a good prediction.
Yeah, that's what I think. And then he's also going to ask, "What do you know about me?" And she's going to break the fucking werewolf treaty of 1812 or whatever the fuck it is. 1812. And so then the fucking
during the war, then
she's going to start the civil war between the vampires and the werewolves, and it's all fucking Bella's fault.
We'll see.
Tara.
Yes.
Are you ready to let me in your passenger seat of your car and we'll speed away on the highway into the world of Twilight?
Yes. Let's go.
Okay, we'll be right back.
Hey, Michael?
Yes, Tara Jean?
Are you ready to be coached?
I am so ready for my cock flattening. I mean coaching. That's later.
Okay, well, let's do it. The coaching. Oh no, we're not guessing the chapter.
Nope, we already.
It is number 9, chapter 9, number 9. Theory. Just theory.
I bet I could have guessed that one.
Yeah, I bet you could have too.
That's not a theory. That's a game theory. Thanks for watching. Anyway.
So then it just starts off like basically where it picked up, and it's like
It picked up where it left off. It starts off where it picked up.
Yes.
Yeah.
I know what I'm talking about.
Yes, you do.
So it starts off with Bella saying, "Can I just ask one more?" I pleaded as Edward accelerated.
One more question, please.
Yeah, she's like, "Please, I just want to ask the questions." And he's like, "Just one more." She said, "Well, you said you knew I hadn't gone into the bookstore and that knew that I had gone south. I was just wondering how you knew that." He looked away, deliberating. "I thought we were past all the evasiveness," I grumbled. He almost smiled. "Fine, then. I followed your scent." He looked at the road, giving me time to compose my face. I couldn't think of an acceptable response to that, but I filed it carefully away for future study. I tried to refocus. I wasn't ready to let him be finished now that he was finally explaining things. "And then you didn't answer one of my first questions," I stalled. He looked at me with a disapproval. "Which one?" "How does it work? The mind reading thing. Can you read anybody's mind anywhere? How do you do it? Can the rest of your family?" I felt silly asking for clarification on make-believe. "That's more than one question," he pointed out. I simply intertwined my fingers and gazed at him, waiting. "No, it's just me. And I can't hear anyone anywhere. I have to be fairly close. The more familiar someone's voice is, the farther away I can hear them. But still, no more than a few miles." He paused thoughtfully. "It's a little like being in a huge hall filled with people, everyone talking at once. It's just a hum, a buzzing of voices in the background, until I focus on one voice, and then what they're thinking is clear. Most of the time, I tune it all out. It can be very distracting, and then it's easier to seem normal." He frowned as he said the word. "When I'm not accidentally answering someone's thoughts rather than their words." "Why do you think you can't hear me?" I asked curiously. He looked at me, his eyes enigmatic. "I don't know," he murmured. "The only guess I have is that maybe your mind doesn't work the same way the rest of theirs do. Like your thoughts are on the AM."
She's different.
Yeah, she's different. "It's like your thoughts are on the AM frequency and I'm only getting FM." He grinned at me, suddenly amused. "My mind doesn't work right? I'm a freak?" The words bothered me more than they should, probably because his
He didn't
speculation.
say she was a freak.
No, like I know she assumed. That's what women do.
Bella, you're a freak.
I'd always suspected as much, and it embarrassed me that to have it confirmed. "I hear voices in my mind, and you're worried that you're the freak?" He laughed. "Don't worry, it's just a theory." His face tightened. "Which brings us back to you." I sighed. How to begin? Aren't we past all the evasions now? So he asked her the same question she just asked him a few minutes ago. She looks away from his face and she notices for the first time the speedometer. "Holy crow," I shouted. "Slow down." "What's wrong?" He was startled, but the car didn't decelerate. "You're going 100 miles an hour. She was like, "What the fuck? You're going so fast." He says, "Relax, Bella. Are you trying to kill us?" I demanded. "We're not going to crash." I tried to modulate my voice. "Why are you in such a hurry?" "I always drive like this." He turned to smile crookedly at me. "Keep your eyes on the road." "I've never been in an accident, Bella. I've never even gotten a ticket." He grinned and tapped his forehead. "Built-in radar detector." "Very funny," I fumed. "Charlie's a cop, remember? I was raised to abide by traffic laws. Besides, if you turn us into a Volvo pretzel around a tree trunk, you can probably just walk away." "Probably," he agreed with a short, hard laugh, "but you can't." And I watched with relief as the needle gradually drifted toward 80. "Happy?" She says almost. I hate driving slow. They're having a normal conversation, kind of. No?
I don't know how normal that was.
No, but they're like talking more than they normally do. He says, "I'm still waiting for your latest theory." He said, and she's like, kind of like, "Oh, I don't know what to say." And he's like, "I won't laugh." She said, "I'm more afraid that you'll be angry with me." Is it that bad? Pretty much, yeah. So he's like,
it might just break a treaty that's been around for thousands of years between werewolves and vampires, but that's fine.
he's like, please, like, go ahead. And she's like, I just don't know how to start. He says, why don't you start at the beginning? You said you didn't come up with this one on your own. No, what you got you started? A book? A movie? He probed. No, it was Saturday at the beach. I ran into an old family friend, Jacob Black, I continued. His dad and Charlie have been friends since I was a baby. He still looked confused. His dad is one of the Quileute. His dad is one of the Quileute elders. I watched him carefully. His confused expression froze in place. We went for a walk. I edited all of my scheming out of the story, and he was telling me some old legends, trying to scare me, I think. He told me one. I hesitated. Go on, he said, about vampires. I realized I was whispering. I couldn't look at his face now, but I saw his knuckles tighten convulsively on the wheel. And you immediately thought of me? Still calm. No, he mentioned your family. I was worried suddenly, worried about protecting Jacob. He just thought it was a silly superstition, I said quickly. He didn't expect me to think anything of it. It didn't seem like enough, I had to confess. It was my fault, though. I forced him to tell me. Why? Lauren said something about you. She was trying to provoke me, and then an older boy from the tribe said your family didn't come to the reservation, only it sounded like he meant something different. So I got Jacob alone and I tricked it out of him, I admitted. Remember? She was trying very hard to flirt with him.
She was like, oh, if you tell me a spooky story, I might give you a kiss.
Is that how that went?
Oh, tell me a spooky story, Jacob, and I'll give you a little smooch. That's what she said. I remember it. Clear as day.
Clear as day.
Clear as day.
He startled me by laughing. I glared up at him. He was laughing, but his eyes were fierce, staring ahead still.
Think I gotta kill some fucking werewolves.
Tricked him how? He asked. I tried to flirt. It worked better than I thought it would. Disbelief colored my tone as I remembered. I'd like to have seen that, he chuckled darkly. And you accuse me of dazzling people. Poor Jacob Black. She dazzled Jacob Black.
Team Jacob.
So then he's like, then what did you do after that? And she was like, I did some research on the internet. And he's like, well, did it convince you though? And she was like, no, nothing really fit. And most of it was kind of silly, and he's like, but then what? She says, I decided it didn't matter. I whispered, it didn't matter? His tone made me look up. I'd finally broken through his carefully composed mask. His face was incredulous, with just a hint of the anger I'd feared. No, I said softly, it doesn't matter to me what you are. You don't care if I'm a monster, if I'm not human? No. He was silent, staring straight ahead again. His face was bleak and cold. You're angry, I sighed. I shouldn't have said anything. No, his tone was as hard as his face. I'd rather know what you're thinking, even if what you're thinking is insane. So I'm wrong again? I challenged. That's not what I was referring to. It doesn't matter, he quoted. I'm right, I guess. Does it matter? I took a deep breath. Not really, I paused, but I am curious. He was suddenly resigned. What are you curious about? How old are you? 17, he answered promptly. And how long have you been 17? His lips twitched as he stared at the road. A while, he admitted. I'm looking at your face and you're like,
yeah, let's be real, Edward. You're not 17, dude.
So then there's a lot of back and forth questions, She said, don't laugh, but how can you come out during the daytime? He laughed anyways. Myth. Burned by the sun? Myth. Sleeping in coffins? Myth. He hesitated for a moment, and a peculiar tone entered his voice. I can't sleep. It took me a moment to absorb that. At all? Never, he said, his voice nearly inaudible. He turned to look at me with a wistful expression. The golden eyes held mine, and I lost my train of thought. I stared at him until he looked away. You haven't asked me the most important question yet, His voice was hard now, and when he looked at me again, his eyes were cold.
Can I say something?
Yes.
She uses the word hard a lot.
She does.
His eyes were hard. His voice was hard.
Hard and cold.
His skin was hard like a rock.
I thought you were going to keep going with that.
His penis is hard.
I knew it. I knew it.
Like it was filled with something other than blood. His penis felt like it was filled with cement. Hard.
I knew that you were not trying to do that, but I knew it was on the tip of your tongue.
That penis was on the tip of my tongue?
Yes. Interesting. Anyways, so you haven't asked me the most important question yet. Which one is that? You aren't concerned about my diet? He asked sarcastically. Oh, that. Yes, that. His voice was bleak. Don't you want to know if I drink blood? Well, Jacob said something about that. What did Jacob say? He asked flatly. He said you didn't hunt people. He said your family wasn't supposed to be dangerous because you only hunted animals. He said we weren't dangerous. His voice was deeply skeptical. Not exactly. He said you weren't supposed to be dangerous. But they still didn't want you on their land, just in case. He looked forward, but I couldn't tell if he was watching the road or not. So was he right about not hunting people? I tried to keep my voice as even as possible. The Quileute... I can never say it.
You said it right.
Quileutes have a long memory, he whispered. I took it as confirmation. Don't let that make you complacent, though, he warned me. They're right to keep their distance from us. We are still dangerous. I don't understand. We try, he explained slowly. We're usually very good at what we do. Sometimes we make mistakes. Me, for example, allowing myself to be alone with you. This is a mistake? I heard the sadness in my voice, but I didn't know if he could too. A very dangerous one, he murmured. We were both silent then, and they're just like driving, and he's driving too fast, and, she's kind of just like taking everything in, and she's like, can you just tell me more? Like, because now she's like, we're in too deep. Like, we have so many details. Like, just keep giving me more details.
Right.
And he's basically just like, what more do you want to know? And she's like, well, tell me why you hunt animals instead of people. Like, what? Like, why? What's the point? And he's like, I don't want to be a monster. His voice very low. But animals aren't enough. He paused. I can't be sure, of course, but I'd compare it to living on tofu and soy milk. We call ourselves vegetarians, our little inside joke. It doesn't completely satiate the hunger, or rather thirst, but it keeps us strong enough to resist. Most of the time. His tone turned ominous. Sometimes it's more difficult than others. Is it very difficult for you now? I asked. He sighed. Yes. But you're not hungry now, I said confidently, stating not asking. Why do you think that? Your eyes. I told you I had a theory. I've noticed that people, men in particular, are crabbier when they're hungry. He chuckled. You are observant, aren't you? I didn't answer. I just listened to the sound of his laugh, committing it to memory. She's obsessed with him. So she figured it out for herself.
Right.
That the
when
color
his
of
eyes are black, he wants to drink. And I said that from day one.
Yeah, okay. I'm sorry.
Give me credit.
Okay, you said that.
I want it.
Ow, you said that from day one.
I want the credit.
There's the credit. Your credit is there.
Day one.
Your credit.
He wanted to drink her blood day one. That's why he was so freaky. He was so freaky deaky.
Freaky deaky. So, but now it wasn't just like a... What did you call it?
No, it was a fear boner.
Was it?
Yeah. Absolutely. He was like, she's so hot and I want to drink her blood.
No, I think it's just that...
I think if you read Stephanie Meyer's book about how Edward's perspective during that time...
Oh, yeah?
I think you'd find out that she uses the word fear boner in conjunction with hard and cold at least 10 times.
Oh, I've read that book. Do you even know what it's called?
He goes, my fear boner is hard and cold.
It talks about how they were hunting this weekend. That's why his eyes are so light.
Yeah, they went and hunted some bucks.
You don't know what they hunted.
Like you grab a little bird and drink the blood. It's like a little snack.
It's a little snack, a Snicker snacker.
You need a buck.
He said he didn't want to leave, but it was necessary. It's easier to be around Bella when he's not thirsty. And she says, why didn't you want to leave? It makes me anxious to be away from you. His eyes were gentle but intense, and they seemed to be making my bones turn soft. I wasn't joking when I asked you to try not to fall in the ocean or get run over last Thursday. I was distracted all weekend worrying about you. And after what happened tonight, I'm surprised that you did make it through the whole weekend unscathed. Well, not totally unscathed. What? Your hands. I looked down at my palms, at the almost healed scrapes across the heels of my hands. His eyes missed nothing. I fell, I sighed. That's what I thought, he said. And then she's like, what do you mean she was like, what do you mean you were gone for 3 days? Didn't you just get back today? He said, no, we got back Sunday. Then why weren't any of you in school? Like, she's pissed because it's like,
school skipper.
Yeah, what the fuck? He says, well, you asked if the sun hurt me, and it doesn't, but I can't go out in the sunlight, at least not where anyone can see. Why? I'll show you sometime, he promised. I thought about it for a moment. You might have called me, I decided. He was puzzled, but I knew you were safe. But I didn't know where you were. I hesitated, dropping my eyes. What? His velvety voice was compelling. I didn't like it, not seeing you. It makes me anxious too. I blushed to be saying this out loud. He groaned quietly. This is wrong. I couldn't understand his response. What did I say? Don't you see, Bella? It's one thing for me to make myself miserable, but a whole other thing for you to be so involved. I don't want to hear that you feel that way. It's wrong. It's not safe. I'm dangerous, Bella. Please grasp that. No, I tried very hard not to look like a sulky child. I'm serious, he growled. So am I. I told you, it doesn't matter what you are. It's too late.
Never. Too late.
He says never say that. And it's just kind of awkward. Because it's like, he's still doing that. He's still doing that thing.
Well, he's right.
Yeah, he's right.
Stay away from me, Bella Swan.
Yeah. And then I'm
a monster.
He sounds like that?
Yeah.
Oh,
when
wow.
he turns into like Vampire Lord.
Oh.
He like grows
right.
wings. And his skin becomes brown and hard.
Ew. Not fuzzy.
And his blood cold.
Just hard because...
Fuzzy? Why would he be fuzzy? Like a bee?
Like a bat.
Oh, I guess bats are kind of fuzzy.
But you just wanted to use the word hard.
Yeah, I just wanted to use the word hard. like my favorite author, Stephanie Meyer.
And then he's just like asking what she's thinking, and she just shakes her head, and she doesn't even realize that she's like crying, kind of. And he's like, "Are you crying?" And she like doesn't say anything, or she says no, but her voice cracks, and he's like, "I'm sorry," and it's just like awkward because like just so weird. Everything's so strange.
It's very strange.
Everything is very strange. And then he asks her what she was thinking when he like turned the corner into like when he was driving up to those people. He's like, well, can you just like tell me what you're thinking when I came around the corner? I couldn't understand your expression. Like, and she was like, she explains to him how she was trying to remember like all of her self-defense moves. And he was like, you were going to fight them? You didn't think about running? And she's like, well, I fall down a lot when I run. And what about screaming for help? I was getting to that part. He shakes his head. You were right. I'm definitely fighting fate trying to keep you alive. But I think it's funny because he's like, wow, she could never defend herself. Like,
right.
She's just a feeble human.
She's just a silly, feeble human. And she needs Big Edward to pull her up in his strong arms.
His strong arms.
So wait, he said this a moment ago.
Mm-hmm.
He doesn't go to school when it's sunny out.
Mm-hmm.
Because he's gonna be sparkly.
Oh, you know that?
I know that.
You know that.
I forgot about it, but I know
you
that.
do. She doesn't know that yet.
But that's why?
I don't know.
Oh, okay.
Maybe. I'm not gonna tell you.
So
Why would I tell you?
So I'm right. I'm right.
Maybe you're right.
He's a sparkly man, so he can't go to school when it's sunny out, because then that's why they go to school in Forks, Washington, because it's not sunny out as much. Also,
You're very smart.
Also, has he been in school for like 30 years or something?
Well, you're skipping ahead. I'm giving you details as we're going. I just want to know the
answers right now, just like Bella.
I'm sorry. I can't give you the answers ahead of time.
Skip 10 chapters.
I cannot.
No,
I cannot. 10 chapters would be like the end of the book.
I know.
So then she's like, okay, well, then I see you tomorrow, because she's like, you've been out of school for so fucking long now. What the fuck? That's basically what she said to him.
She's like, I miss you.
And he's like, yeah, I have a paper due too. I'll save you a seat at lunch. Ooh, lunch. It was silly after everything we'd been through tonight, how that little promise sent flutters through to my stomach and made me unable to speak, she says. But then she was home. Like, she was like back at Charlie's. And she's like, do you promise to be there tomorrow? I promise. And she starts to take his jacket off. And he's like, you can keep it. You don't have a jacket for tomorrow. And she still handed it back to him. I don't want to have to explain this to Charlie.
Whose jacket is that, Bella?
Yeah, exactly.
This is me, Charlie. This is how I sound.
This is me. Is that how Charlie sounds?
I'm the sheriff.
Sheriff Charlie.
I'm mad you're home because you interrupted my Skinamax.
Oh, God, not the skin. How could I forget about that? Jesus. And then
I don't even pay for the channel. I just watch the scrambly bits.
Nope.
And every once in a while you could see a titty.
God. Why would he ever say something like that to his daughter?
He didn't. Edward read his mind.
Oh,
though.
Edward read his mind.
Edward was like, "Whoa, dude! You
Whoa,
don't even
calm
pay for
down.
the channel?
Yeah.
Come on, dude. That's fucking
fucked
deplorable."
That's fucked up.
I know the internet's dial-up, but you can still get porn on the internet, dude.
Oh, God.
Charlie, he's deranged.
Charlie's a good man.
Yeah, but he's deranged. Slightly
geez.
deranged.
So then they're at the door, or she's getting out of the car. She's gonna get out of the car.
Mhm.
And he goes, Bella, and she goes, yes. Will you promise me something? Yes, I said, and instantly regretted my unconditional agreement. What if he asked me to stay away from him? I couldn't keep that promise. Don't go into the woods alone. I stared at him in blank confusion. Why? He frowned, and his eyes were tight as he stared past me out the window. I'm not always the most dangerous thing out there. Let's leave it at that. I shuddered slightly at the bleakness in his voice, but I was relieved. This, at least, was an easier promise to honor. Whatever you say, I'll see you tomorrow. Tomorrow, then. I opened the door unwillingly. Bella, I turned, and he was leaning towards me, his pale, glorious face just inches from mine. My heart stopped beating. Sleep well, he said. His breath blew in my face, stunning me. It was the same exquisite scent that clung to his jacket, but in a more concentrated form. I blinked, thoroughly dazed. He leaned away. I was unable to move until my brain had somewhat unscrambled himself. Then I stepped out of the car, and I thought I heard him chuckle because she was like scrambling out, like
Right.
clumsily. But the sound was too quiet for me to be certain. So basically, he leaves, and
Yep.
she goes in the house. And Charlie's there, and he's like, oh, you're home early. And she was like, am I? He's like, yeah, it's not even 8 yet. Did you have fun with the girls? And she was like, yeah, totally.
Totally fun with the girls.
That's who I had fun
Not
with.
with Edward Cullen,
No.
known vampire.
Ugh, known vampire. But hey, I don't know. Charlie likes the Cullens, it seems.
Yeah, Charlie doesn't know they're vampires. Though.
Yeah, exactly.
And he's seen enough Skinamax to know what vampires can do.
Yes.
Sexually.
I was gonna say, what are we missing here? And then Charlie's like, are you all right? And she's like, I think I'm just tired. I did a lot of walking around. And he's like, you should go lie down. And she's like, oh, I just gotta call Jessica first. And he's like, well, weren't you just with her? And she's like, oh yeah, but I left my jacket in her car. I want to make sure she brings it to school tomorrow.
Smart.
Lies.
No, that was a good cover-up.
I know, it is a good cover up.
Nice job, Bella. You fucking liar.
And Charlie's like, well, you have to give her a chance to get home first. And she's like, oh yeah, totally.
Totes.
Totes. So then actually,
What are you, Charlie, the phone police?
yeah. So
Jeez.
then Jessica calls her.
It's the actual police.
He's the actual police, not just the phone police. He's every police. Anyways, so then Jessica calls her, and she's like, oh my gosh, you made it home? And she's like, yeah, I left my jacket in your car. Can you bring it to me? And she was like, but sure, but tell me what happened. And she was like, tomorrow, I'll tell you in Trig. And she was like, oh, is your dad there? And she was like, yeah. And they're like, okay, we'll talk tomorrow. Bye.
OMG. Don't want my dad to find out.
Yeah, exactly. So then she's just, reeling in the night's wonder and amazement.
She's thinking about everything that's happened.
Exactly.
And it's like, wow, he can read minds, but he also drinks blood, but he also can't go in the sun for some reason that I don't know yet. But if I'd seen Twilight before, or if I knew about it, I'd know that he sparkles.
Mm-hmm.
And he also doesn't want me to be around him, but I want to be around him because I love him.
Mm-hmm.
Did I cover her thoughts?
Basically, yeah. So she got ready for bed and stuff, and this is the last part of the chapter. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
My mind still swirled dizzily, full of images I couldn't understand, and some I fought to repress. Nothing seemed clear at first, but as I felt gradually closer to unconsciousness, a few certainties became evident. About 3 things I was absolutely positive. First, Edward was a vampire. Second, there was a part of him, and I didn't know how potent that part might be, that thirsted for my blood. And third, I was unconditionally and irrevocably in love with him.
What?
The end of chapter.
End of chapter. Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. So we learned a lot there. Not a lot happened, but we learned a lot there. And it was all kind of stuff that I had already kind of thought was, going on.
And in that part, I just remembered like that last paragraph was in the inseam of the book So
they tell you he's a vampire,
Yeah.
and then they spend 8 chapters like
I forgot about
pretending
I think
he's
it's
not?
either in like that inseam part or it's that's like the quote on the back of like the hardcover book.
I mean, it's a good quote for the book.
Yeah, it's really good.
Yeah. So.
And they say that whole part in the movie too.
Right. Interesting.
Her voiceover narration. But.
Okay.
Yeah,
So,
not a super long chapter in the slightest, but like that's a lot. It's a lot to unpack.
There's not a whole lot to say about that chapter other than we learned a lot about him being a vampire.
I think it's just like an important chapter
Yes.
because you like know that he's finally like giving in to say like actually telling her truths rather than just being like stay away from me, blah blah blah. He's still being like stay away from me, I'm dangerous, but she has like an actual concrete reason why.
Here's the thing though, like he got himself in the situation.
Correct.
And it doesn't really make sense to me why he did.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe that's revealed later or there's more to that.
Mm-hmm.
But other than he can't read her thoughts and that's intrigued him, right?
Yeah, and I think that's like even now, like when you don't know the full story, that's still like a clear
motivation.
Like first off motivation of like he can't hear her thoughts, like there's something different about her.
And as our good friend Sean has said previously, he's terrible at hiding the fact he's a vampire.
Pretty much.
Absolutely terrible.
Pretty much.
Yes.
But any other thoughts like that? I just feel like this was like the part of the book where I was like, oh, this is like, we're going to learn so much more now. And it's exciting because you're right. You spend literally like so many chapters just for the lead up to it.
And like, it's necessary for sure.
It's definitely necessary for like the background of their lives and like how they are as people and how they got to be where they are. But it's also just exciting to like finally know because she's basically been beating herself up this whole time, which hasn't been really fair. Like, she's just been like, am I crazy? Like, is something like, why is he acting the way that he is?
And she's now vindicated.
Right. And
by the fact that...
And she's been like really pretty insecure about herself too, which I don't think is super fair. Like, it's not been super fair of her to feel that way. Like, she's like,
not really his fault.
No, not at all. But it's just like also multiple situations have been like, she's like, why didn't he just let me die? Get run over by that van. Like, because he's been acting so weird. Kind of weird stuff.
Yeah, I get from what we've learned about him, he's not a bad person.
Right.
He's a dangerous person.
Correct.
He's a vampire, and at any moment he could snap and suck the blood out of anybody. But he's not a bad person.
Right. I just think it's telling, like, as like someone that was super insecure in high school too, that she's like, of course she would think that way.
Right.
Because why wouldn't you?
Why
like,
would
your
you
first
think
thought would be like,
vampire?
and like, why would you think that someone that attractive is like wanting to spend time with you? You know?
Yeah.
Hard stuffs in high school.
Hard stuffs.
Lots of emotions in high school.
Yes. You guys can always reach us at
cbterrapodcast@gmail.com.
On Twitter at cbterrapod. On our Discord, which is the links in description. You can snail mail us at P.O. Box 8159 Kentwood, Michigan 49518. And you can always just drop us a rating on Apple Podcasts.
Oh yes, we didn't mention that the last
You can 5-star rate us, review us. We'll read it live on the podcast.
We would love that.
We had to pre-record some episodes in a row here, so we're about 4 episodes deep right now from what's been put out. So there might be a delay on reading some of those emails.
I was gonna say, don't be discouraged if you don't hear yours right away.
Yes. But we will read it once we get it and we have it. I've got a busy schedule coming up and Tara's got a busy schedule coming up, so we had to make sure we pre-recorded some of these so we can get them out every week to you guys.
Exactly. I did not mean to start playing my own podcast.
Playing her own podcast on her podcast. Oopsie. That is pretty cringe, Tara.
Pretty cringe.
Tara, you're being cringe. Anyway, Tara.
Yes.
Thank you for coaching me.
You're welcome.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.